and welcome to Reality Buying. I'm RJ Johan, your host for this session, and thank you for tuning in. That's it. If you guys want to contribute our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job you're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. So, for this edition of the Reality Buying, let's talk about life after college. And of course, we have Johan here with us. It's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be back, and it's a topic we discussed last year also. So this year also we'll again discuss this, and I think this 1 year maybe I don't know, for me at least some changes or the other I've seen, with
Yeah.
my opinion on college. So let's see how it goes.
For sure. Let's jump right into it. So, my very first question is now, it's been like 3 years since we graduated, right? So, now
Yeah.
what's something you wish you'd known before graduating?
I mean, there's a lot. I think one of the main like mistakes, I don't know if I can call mistakes, but I think one of the things is I think wasting a lot of time. I think that
Oh,
is
yeah. Oh, yeah.
the I know, I think that is the biggest sort of a regret, or that I have, that I wasted a lot of time. And when I mean wasting a lot of time, like one of the things that a lot of people in my class did that benefited them was doing internships.
Mhm.
Now, I didn't end up doing any internships, but I saw how doing that internship, one, helped them in their career, and second, they ended up learning some things or the other, and it boosted their resume. So getting a job, they were getting some very, they were getting jobs that, that are quite difficult to get, but because of the internship experience, they easily got in. That's one of the things that I didn't end up, doing. And I thought, after college, I'll get busy with work. I won't get time to chill. So I'm not doing any internship. And I wasted a lot of time like that. And I think, the best thing, at least for me, like for mine is a very practical based sort of a field. So the best sort of the advantage of college is you have 3 years to, develop your skill and become good at it. And
Mhm.
now with the internet and everything there, you can easily learn and pick up stuff very easily and very quickly. And
Yeah.
those 3 years, although I did end up learning a lot of skills, I think if I had put 10 times more effort than, at that time, I know eventually how it would have benefited me, overall, like post college. Like when I was even applying for my internship, that time when I saw, how mediocre my portfolio was, I really wish I had spent a lot more time and, those 3 years working on my skills and developing on my skills. And
Mhm.
the another kind of regret is, I think with at least within with my friends, we would chill and everything, but we would never really talk about the topic, and we would never really like the subjects, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
would never really dive into, what we're doing. So I didn't know so many of my friends were doing internship apart from, college itself, and I didn't know
Mhm.
a lot of them were doing side projects and side gigs, which ended up, they learned a lot. So I think that
Mhm.
miscommunication is something I really regret. I wish I had stayed, in touch, in a sense, like I'd stayed touch with them more, knowing what's going on with them, so that I also had an idea with, what's really going on and what, it could benefit. Because if I isolated myself, in that way, like in terms of picking the career path and working on skill, I really isolated myself a lot. I had never really openly discussed that with my classmates. And
Mhm.
I think if I had discussed more, I would have been able to understand, a lot of the open, like places where you can learn those courses that are there to learn some skills. I would
Mhm.
have figured out some good places where you can get internships easily. I would
Mhm.
have, if I'd have gotten in touch with them, I could have, I myself could have gotten some internships or side gigs.
Yeah.
And, if I had communicated better with them, I think things would have been in a way much better for me also. So,
Mhm.
these are the three things that I remember a lot, that I really wish, I didn't make those mistakes. What about
Hmm.
you, bro?
Uh, one like anytime we talk about college, one mistake I really regret, is not spending time with, my teachers a lot more because,
Okay.
you know, I seen a lot of students from journalism background. They used to spend their time in their English department a lot,
Uh,
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
always,
I remember.
yeah, I was like, why are they spending time with their teachers? They have friends; they can
Mm,
spend it with the friends. And little did I know the amount of knowledge you get with these teachers
mm,
because. they are not as old as you expect them to be. They're just like few years elder than you, and
Mm,
they have knowledge. They have like knowledge from
mm.
various walks of life. And there was one head of department in the English department.
I
I,
know who you're
I
talking about.
yeah, yeah, I can't specify his name, but of course,
I know you're talking about
he really reminded me of a very wise,
Socrates.
yeah, Socrates, yeah, a very wise person. And anytime he speaks, you can tell there is content, there is experience behind every single word he does say.
I know who you're talking about. Like, he's the sort of a person. It's like if you think you know some about some topic and you discuss with him, you can spend 3 4 years of your life. You can
Hmm.
spend 10 plus hours on some topic. And be you can know A to Z about everything. But you talk to him, you'll realize he knows it like 50 times better than you. He's the,
Exactly.
he's that type of a guy. Yeah.
Exactly. And my regret is not spending time with these people, because
Mm,
I went through life thinking like I know everything, and now to find out the hard way that I have no clue about it. I would rather appreciate that I would found it at that point of time, and
mm,
be humbled in that kind of way, rather than be humbled by people who you don't really like.
yeah.
And but it's always good to be humbled. You learn that you're not the best in everything. There's always going to be somebody
Mm,
better than you in every single way. And I feel I should have spent time with these people who knew a lot more than me.
mm,
Instead of just considering them as teachers, I should have taken them as a source of information, a friend, in other words.
mm,
Because that's all they've been very friendly towards us and all. It was just us students who were too uh I can say a simpler word, too not that great. We took things for granted. That's basically it. And of course, when you spoke about the internships and all, I mean, this was my personal choice. I didn't want to do projects, internship, that kind of thing. I wanted to focus on
mm,
college work. Yeah.
mm,
But now regretting it, I was like, maybe I should have taken one internship,
mm.
continued it. And I have a feeling like if I did right now, life would have been a lot more easier. Of course, I did drop out for my job because I've got clarity in my life. And
Mm,
I wish I had it at that point of time,
mm,
because 2 years of my life is like gone. Of course, work experience is there, but when you look back at it right now,
mm.
you're like, I should have made that decision back then. At least I'd have been a little bit more better. But everything happens for a reason. As long as you get your clarity, you can get it early, later, it still works for you.
That and also the thing is like teachers have scolded our class for this, for wasting time. The
Yeah,
I can't begin to explain you how many times we have got lectured by our teachers. But at that time, it's we don't have that maturity to understand why are they talking
yeah,
all this.
yeah,
Only after you start working, and the thing is like even when you're in college, even if you're like putting out your stuff, like on social media, you can put out your work and
yeah.
get appreciated. Then you can still do internships, but you will actually understand how competitive every field is only when you actually start
Yeah.
working. And only when you understand that competition, that's when
Mhm.
you'll understand why those teachers were so seriously telling us. But at
Yeah,
that time, it never was getting in our head. But I think
exactly.
that immaturity, everything ends up becoming a big lesson for us eventually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, looking back, like on our entire college life, like
Mm.
what's something valuable you learned, like during your college, either academically or personally?
I think one of the I think we have spoken about this a lot of times. One of the
Mm.
best things about Joseph's was really the crowd.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think, and that's one of the things I really miss. I think that's what I miss about about the college. You may not have
Mm.
spoken to each and everyone in the college, obviously, but the atmosphere that Joseph's will give like I don't think you can
Yeah.
get that atmosphere anywhere else. And
Hmm.
but and and it's I don't know how to explain. It's really like a sort of a comfortable sort of a feeling being in Joseph's, because one of the best things in Joseph's, you could easily communicate and mingle with anybody, bro. And
Oh yeah.
like it doesn't take it's not that difficult to mingle with anyone. So I ended up meeting a lot of people because our classes used to be in science block. So I ended up knowing a lot
Hmm.
of people in science block, science students. And because through some common friends or the other, I ended up knowing a lot of students from the arts department. And like
Hmm.
this the fact that it's so easy to communicate, and once you communicate, no, like you'll end up, there's sort of a bond that you'll develop with them. And I don't mean it just like in a friendship way. Like I know a lot of people who ended up becoming friends like this, and eventually they actually get like a lot of uh, they get internships, they get jobs, they get like they end up
mm,
collaborating some way or the other because of being friends like that. And I think
yeah.
one of the best things Josephs will actually teach you is networking. if you
Oh yeah.
if you get in right, if you learn to talk and communicate with the people, and if you easily I think one of the best things is how openly you can talk. And that if you
Mm,
end up developing that skill of openly communicating with someone and talking, you can develop that networking skill. That will eventually help
yeah.
you a lot in your future and in your career a lot, I feel. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
although at that time you may not have, Joseph's, I might have not realized it, the fact that how easily you could learn to communicate with someone. Now, in hindsight, how we have seen a lot of other Joseph's people also. Interestingly, a lot of them still, a lot of the Josephites after graduating also, they still collaborate. They still do a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
I've seen that online,
Yeah.
what they're doing. And it's amazing to see. So
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the best things Joseph's has ever taught is, networking. And second, in a way,
Mm,
is I think in a way, like I started understanding, the value of like other departments very well. Like for
mm,
example, English itself, my sister did MA. So, and when you see
mm,
she did MA literature, and she said that she learned theater and she learned linguistics, and the detail. And it's very unfortunate that someone who ends up studying literature, financially it may not
mm,
be very very secured for them, unless here and there something would have worked out. But it's really
mm,
it's a passion, so it's a field that's purely done for passion. And
mhm,
once you see how interestingly they do it, the arts department in Joseph's. And and the kind of respect, the kind of understanding I ended up getting for those departments. I think now in work it's becoming difficult for a lot of them, because in Joseph's they create that sort of an interesting atmosphere where they teach you so well those stuffs. But once you get out of it,
yeah.
it becomes once you get out of Joseph's and you start working somewhere, it's very hard to follow those sort of principles that Joseph somewhat develops on you. It becomes very very
Yeah.
difficult. The kind of uh,
Mm,
the kind of free sort of a mentality that teachers try applying on students, and students
mhm,
go with that mindset to work, but the system is such that it becomes very hard for them to have that free mindset to work in. And the best
exactly.
thing Joseph's does is it trains you in that way. It gives you that free
Mm,
sort of they train you in such a way you get a free spirit of learning things very well. Where
mhm,
you have you can't you know you're not just going to be like a regular person in the room. You will think
mm,
outside the box. And I think Joseph really
yeah.
trains you in that way pretty well. The
Yeah.
arts department, I've seen that. Even the communication department, to an extent, they do that. But unfortunately, sometimes
Mhm,
in it becomes difficult. I've seen how a lot of people, like especially in the English department of a college, the teachers there, they
mm,
train the students very differently compared to other colleges do that. I myself have seen that.
yeah.
But the thing is, a
Yeah.
lot of them who have done literature and now when they are working, it becomes very hard for them. A lot of them end up becoming teachers. They want to teach in a different way, but they are like just finish the
Mm,
portions. They've it's somewhat like they
yeah.
end up falling into that sort of a cycle because they have no job. And
Mhm,
they have they have no way, they have no other way to do but to follow in the end of the
yeah.
day. So I think it becomes difficult after college, but at least it's great that Joseph trains you in that way. I think that's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Uh, you know, some of my family members, they didn't like me going to Joseph's because I used to come home late and all of that. I mean, of course, I did spend time with the friends, but different. But there is one thing I'm very very grateful for Joseph's, because I entered the biggest introvert you can ever expect in your life, and I entered as that. And I don't know, like within a month, I started like, okay, let's see how things go. So slowly, I started breaking out of my shell, and once I finally did in the final year, so till 3 years, in the final year after I did break out of my shell, I was like, okay. let's take things to the next level. Now I love to talk. I like to share experiences. I love interviewing people. So why not make this, a thing? And that's of course when I came to FEBA, and it's by far the one of God's greatest gifts I've ever
Mm,
even shown up here in the first place.
mm,
And of course, like throughout the years, I have developed my communication skill. Speaking to people, being a lot more open, like nothing to hide, that kind of thing. And all of this I learned because I went to
mm,
Joseph's, because they have so much of values, and the way they teach it to
mm,
you, they don't force it upon you, they just leave you to
mm.
it. And I think that's the best way of teaching this generation of students, to be honest, because now they just don't want to be told, they want to experience everything, and once they do, then they make up their own
Mm.
decision. And that's by far, like, the best way to actually connect with the generation of
Yeah.
today. And even after you leave Joseph's, like say you want to do any higher studies anywhere else, they know you come from Joseph's. They're going to be like, okay, you get on board with our college or our
Oh
training
yeah.
program, anything. Even for jobs also, it's too easy. Like once they find out you're from Joseph's, they don't care how much you get. They're like, okay, you have good ethics, you have good
Mm.
work skills, all of that. You're coming with us, that kind of thing. It's very great. So that's what I've learned in Joseph personally. Academically, it is. I mean, it's
It's
Joseph, so let's be
academically,
honest.
academically, it's different for each and every person, irrespective of the college or
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
But I think it's a lot of other
hmm,
things that they end up learning that will help them. But academically,
exactly,
you can't
exactly.
really, say. But I think some people might have, it
Hmm,
would have benefited them. Some people it wouldn't have. It's different.
yeah, but most of my experience, like learning, came from the presentations we did in various
Oh.
classes, because we had to do research on it, and it wasn't easy. Like we have to search information which is nowhere else
Mm,
found. Of course, Wikipedia and all of that, but our teachers were like, no Wikipedia, no this pedia, that pedia, you have to figure it
mm,
out, sit, read
mm,
books, frame an entire thing. And I was like, oh wow, this is actually quite
mm,
fun. It's quite fun to do. I like till now, I don't remember there was ever a point in my life, like while doing assignments and all, I never felt bored. I never felt irritated. I never felt like I hated this.
mm,
I was like, I love it.
mm,
It's like making me feel more alive every single
mm.
day. And that's what it did academically. And
But
it
but
did
you said
improve.
you were introverted right in the beginning. So do those PPTs doing those
Yeah.
presentations were they scary for you in the beginning?
Horrible, horrible. It was like, I remember like when I first gave my presentation, that was in international relations
Mm,
class. I forgot what I spoke
mm,
about. I think a Rohingya crisis or something like that I
mm,
spoke about. And just before the thing, I'm having my paper in my hand and my palms are sweaty.
mm,
Like they're completely sweaty. I'm like sweating
mm,
buckets, and I'm just like giving the presentation. I'm only looking at the paper. I'm not looking at the crowd, nothing like that. And then finally I was like, okay, I fumbled at like couple of sentences, and then I was like, okay, this paper is not going to do anything for me. I know the content. Okay, I just closed the paper, I put it aside, and then I just started looking straight at the clock, and then I started speaking. It worked out phenomenally.
uh, but I also remember when I did
Those are
my
the good
first
times.
presentation, and at the thing is,
Hmm,
the interesting thing is, like in school, they never really, I never ended up doing any presentations or anything. So doing all
hmm,
this,
hmm, hmm.
but my presentations weren't as serious as your subjects were. Ours was like pretty easy. The main
Hmm.
reason they did this presentation sort of thing for us was to develop our public speaking skills more than the
Yeah.
points and everything. So it's developing our way of speaking to the public and everything. That was the thing. And
Hmm, hmm,
honestly, like when I did my first time itself, the teacher itself appreciated the confidence I had while talking. So,
hmm, hmm.
weirdly, that was the first time I realized I'm actually not scared to talk in front of people. Yeah. So that's one interesting thing I learned.
Lovely. So the third question is now, what part of your college routine do you miss the most?
Hmm. It's hard to, think of all of it. I think, I think the fact that our class in a weird way, it wasn't the most, it didn't have any sort of a unity or anything.
Hmm,
To speak, it was honestly there was not much unity in our class. It was very divided. Like our teachers itself would comment, would tell, your class seems very divided, there's no unity in your class, which we kind of admitted.
hmm,
But it was, the class had some really talented bunch of people. Like the class
hmm,
had
hmm,
really talented bunch of people. So even though if you don't talk to them, once in a while when you go and talk to them, and you know just ask them about something, and talk to them about something else, also a certain topic. And it is very
mm,
interesting. That's sort of a, going and engaging with the classmates, about the topic, and because they were all talented at what they were doing. So it is interesting to go
yeah.
and talk to them once in a while. But the problem is I never spoke to them enough to end up benefiting myself, in terms of getting internships and
Mm,
asking them that deep. We never really went that deep. But I think the
mm,
I think the fact that you can just call your friends and you could meet up, and that is something you
yeah.
can't do anymore. And now it's like I
Nope.
we message on the group. He's like, what day are you free? What day are you free? Okay, well, we'll meet at this time. He's like, no, bro, I have work. I won't be able to come. And then we
Yeah.
literally like in if we meet once a week, 3 days goes in, because they're all bad texters. That is another problem. And the 3 days goes in just messaging where what
Waiting.
time
Yeah.
which day you're available, what time can we come, this that, okay, fine, done. And this much we are
Mm,
planning. Now in college it was just 1 second, it was literally like, anyone near this place,
mm,
we'll be like, yeah, I am here. They like, come. And we would 10 minutes we'll go be there, and that's literally how we were, the planning was going. And
yeah.
I think that is completely gone. And the kind of, for me at least personally, like the kind of freedom I had in college, the, the freedom, not just like in terms of like timings and stuff, it's also like art, in terms of like what I can do, artistically, in terms
Yeah.
of like what kind of designs I can do, what kind of video editing I can do, what kind of, you know, uh, videos I can, animations that I can draw and create. They didn't have any sort of a like a limit what you want to show and do. They would just give you the
Mhm.
entire freedom what you wanted to do. Joseph's, luckily there
Yeah.
was that advantage in Joseph's. But unfortunately, when you start working and you can't just do exactly what you have in your mind. You have to cater to what the people are asking you to do. And
Mm,
I think that change is there, but I kind of miss that, sort of a freedom I had in college, of I could just
mm,
have some random idea in my mind, and I could just do that if I wanted to. And
mhm.
I don't have that sort of a, I really miss that sort of a freedom. I could just do whatever I want. And those people appreciated them also, bro. Like I would just randomly do some interestingly, whatever topic I found interesting in the projects, I would do
Yeah.
those projects, and they would also appreciate the video weirdly. And
Mhm, mhm.
I don't, now if I look back, one of the weirdest things was those videos are so bad. Okay, I'm very embarrassed because we were such rookies at that time. I've become much
Yeah.
better at what I do now, I feel. But
Mhm.
still, the sort of a freedom that they gave was pretty interesting. I think I miss,
Mm,
I think I miss that. And Joseph just has this very interesting atmosphere. And it cannot be
yeah.
explained unless only when you study in Joseph's you will understand what I'm trying to, say. It's a very difficult thing to explain. Joseph's has a very interesting atmosphere. So that
Mhm.
atmosphere, I miss that. I miss that feeling of entering, going to college, and every day seeing my classmates. And then eventually when we, when on our last day also, when I realized,
Mm,
that we're not going to meet each other, this will be the last time after graduation. We won't see each other after that. It weirdly
yeah.
kind of hit me. It was like, I'm actually not going to
Mhm.
see these people again. But now, although I'm
Yeah.
not in touch with pretty much most of them, I'm touch with only a couple of them. But still,
Mm,
I do actually weirdly miss seeing my classmates every single day. I miss entering the
yeah.
college. I miss those lunch breaks that we would have. And I do miss
Mhm.
that each and every sort of a routine that that was there in college.
Mhm. I don't know. For me, it's not about the academics. It's not about what I learned from Joseph. For me, the oddly thing I miss is just three of my friends who sat with me in the back
Hmm.
bench. Like we had three rows, so each row had their own backbenches, but our row was extreme towards the
Hmm.
right, and I felt that was the best
Um,
because I just had two people, and of course another person also did join us, and that was the best because anytime during journalism class, of course international relations we could not do that. Our teacher was strict, very strict.
uh,
Like you blink in the wrong way, he's throwing you out of the class. like he that strict. But everything else, like for journalism, English, additional English, anytime we sat there, I remember those moments. I don't remember what was going on, any debate was going on, anyone was doing anything in class. I don't remember that. I remember only what we were discussing, what we were doing.
mm,
And it was so funny, and it was one of the most dearest moments in my heart
mm,
if we talk about entire college life.
mm,
And once I think we got a journalism assignment where we had to do in class, we had to write an obituary about somebody in class. I chose one of my friend who's sitting right next to
mm,
me, and like he chose another friend, and that friend chose me. So it's kind of like in a triangle basis. So I went here, he went here, he went here,
mm,
and we just made the entire a joke about it.
mm,
We are like, okay, if like I remember what one of my friends said again, like for me, he's like, why did you die? Why do you have to go and crash near a tree? And I was like, and that time I was having a cast at that time because I had an accident like a week earlier,
uh,
and everyone was just looking at me, and I was just sitting there so embarrassed. I was like, oh gosh, we did not crash near a tree, we crashed near the hockey stadium.
Uh, oh yeah, actually now if you think of it, I do, I miss chilling with friends. Like I think it's like
Yeah.
because there were like this three of us in college, like from first
Hmm.
semester till the final semester, it was basically the three of us together. Like even though we ended up, hanging out like in separate like groups, like after college and during lunch break, in classroom it
Hmm.
was the three of us always together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now after college, those are the two people I'm in touch with. And like
Hmm.
every time we meet, like the amount we laugh and have a great time, in those conversations, I realized that I was having this sort of a conversation with them every day in college during class time.
Hmm.
And at that time when you're just chilling and having fun with them in class and you're just laughing out, I know I didn't realize that, I'll be doing this only once a week from, after college. I didn't realize that at
Yeah.
that time, every single day I'm chilling. And now only once a week we meet, and those few hours we, have this sort of a conversation. So I think that,
Hmm.
I think I realized that much later how, that sort of a fun time that we had in college, it's going to be very limited later.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, moving on to the last question now, is there any advice you'd like to share with students who are currently doing college?
Mm, I'm not the biggest believer of advisor myself. I think because like the thing is, no matter how much we can tell you, do this, do that. I think it's very hard to listen unless you yourself have experienced something. So, but the thing
Yeah.
is, I would say, you know, whatever time you have in college, try utilizing it to develop a skill. I think that is the best
Hmm.
thing you can do in college, because the free time you have in college to develop your skills and utilize your skills, you're not gonna get that free time in after college very easily. Like it's
Yeah.
like now like everyone after work, most of them reach like only like 6 after 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So you end
Hmm.
up reaching that late. So the you get very less time in your work life to sit and work on your skills after work. And when you're in
Yeah.
college, you have that sort of a free time, you have that freedom, you have those semester breaks to sit and relax. I'm not going to say no, but also just learn to develop your skills, because you know uh, retrospectively in retrospect it will really benefit everyone. So that, and
Yeah.
also in
Yeah.
terms of like doing internships, like I am someone who will tell do internships, it will benefit you like work wise. But then I'm also the
Hmm.
person who realized I didn't do any internship, I had a lot of free time. Now I don't get to I don't have that sort of a free time anymore. And in one way I'm kind of grateful I had all that free time for myself, although I wasted it, but still I had it at least. And once
Yeah, that's
like
true.
after work, those free time is gonna go. So I think
Hmm.
doing internships is something that'll always help. But I would say, like, don't try going out for projects and stuff, because why I'm saying that is
Yeah.
because if you're trying to get gigs, like, because you don't have any work experience, like people might end up taking advantage of that, and either not pay you or pay you like really really bad. And once you start working, you
Hmm.
realize how, for the amount of work you were doing, and they were just paying you peanuts, and that's just completely unfair.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're getting offered an internship, go for it.
Hmm,
But seeking out for an internship and seeking out for gigs like during college time, I
hmm.
think it's best to stay back and just work on your skills and develop your skills.
Yep.
And uh, and and do internships why one if the internships are offered to you. For
Hmm,
me, I had to do internship. It was compulsory for my course.
hmm,
So
hmm,
that's why I ended up doing an internship. But for others who want to do internship apart from that also,
hmm,
I would say that it's very weird that how college students actually get, people take advantage of college students. A lot of these people,
hmm, hmm,
I've seen myself, how a lot of my friends who are doing video editing and stuff during college, how they would travel after college. It would take them 2 hours to travel, and once they're working, they're just getting paid very less because they're college students. I have seen that myself.
hmm, hmm.
And for the amount of traveling, the amount you're dedicating to that place, the amount you're putting effort, it's really, sometimes it's once you start working, you realize how, that for the amount of work you're doing, it was really, you're not getting paid the best.
Yeah.
So I would say internship, if you're ever going to get internships and stuff, do it if you're getting offered. It's a genuine offer. If you're getting the offer, it's genuine. That's why.
Yeah. My advice would be, don't take anything for granted. I mean, now you might have everything, you might feel like, it's going to last forever. But trust me, nothing ever lasts forever. It's bound to
Mm,
end sometime. So, cherish what you have, cherish the people you have, cherish
yeah.
relationships you have, even cherish your teachers, because nobody gives better advice than them, to be very honest. Your friends are not going to give you better advice than them. Nobody else is going to give.
Don't listen to your friends.
So yeah, please don't. I mean,
Mm,
certain issues, yeah, you can, but in taking career and all, listen to them because they are the ones who have that knowledge. They are the ones who gone through that life,
mm,
and especially if you guys are from Joseph's, good luck because you have by far the best departments ever and the most friendliest
that's true.
teachers. Of course, other colleges do
Mm,
have, but I mean, we are Josephites, so we can only speak from Joseph's perspective.
mm,
And finally, like, make sure you do something. Like, don't just keep college as your, you know, everything. Keep something else. Like, if you guys want to, start a YouTube, go ahead and start it. Don't be afraid of doing something else other than what you're doing. If you want to do an internship, go ahead and start it. You want to, develop some skill or the other,
mm,
go ahead and start it. Don't wait for, college to
yeah.
get over because right now the rat race is so fierce right now.
Mm,
You come out of college, you're going to find out that people possess skills that you never even thought of.
sort of.
And yeah, and you have to develop something in order to stay in the race. If you want to go ahead,
Mm,
learn more skills. You'll get there faster. But don't ever take things for granted. Don't take things lightly because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own life. And
mm,
if you want to be successful, you are the one who can make it happen. Nobody else is there. You can't blame,
mm,
he did this, he did this, my parents did that, my teacher did this, he gave me a C grade or something like that. You can't blame anyone but
mm,
yourself. You have to be willing to do everything that it takes to make yourself the best.
mm.
And yeah,
Yeah, like
that's
and like the reason why like developing your skills in college is important is because every skill has a foundation, and
exactly.
building that foundation in your skill, building that foundation in your skills, it
Hmm,
takes some time.
hmm,
And if you built your foundation in school itself, in college itself pretty well,
hmm.
and you're pretty rock solid, when you build up your skills one after the other later on. So
Yep.
if you built your foundation in your skills very well, and when it comes to work, it will get much easier for you. So that's why it's better to develop your skills in college itself.
Yeah, that's true. And with that said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. A
Yeah,
huge thank you to Johan for joining today's
yeah, it
show.
was great. Yeah, thank you, Johan. Thank you for calling.
Remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it. If you guys want to contribute our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of youth power, brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Yohan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.